Happy day, my friends. This is part 2 of Settle into a New State. So, in a previous video, the video before this one, I was having a conversation about abundance and about what abundance really is. Okay, Spirit asked me to share that conversation, and so I did. And when I woke up this morning, Spirit was like, the conversation needs to continue. Okay. And so if you haven't seen that video yet, it's fine. It's not necessary that you watch that video first. But if you would like to watch that video before you watch this one, then feel free to do that. Again, it's not necessary that you do. I think that this conversation would actually be kind of like a setup for you if you haven't watched that video yet. But feel free to do what you wish to do, okay? So thank you all for being here with me. My name is Macy LaShawn Sledge, and I am honestly, I've in the past, I've flirted around with titles. You know, what do I call myself? Spiritual teacher, spiritual this, spiritual that. And really, there is no title. I'm just Macy LaShawn Sledge. I am a truth seeker. And I feel like it is my responsibility in this life, because I am learning who I am. I am discovering who I am, the truth of who I am. And so I feel like in doing so, I have this responsibility to encourage and empower others to do the same. And so that's why I'm here. And so just thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Some of you have been present since the beginning, right? And the beginning was many years ago. Some of you have followed me and just been with me through all of the moments of inconsistency and not really knowing, and all the moments of uncertainty and being unsure of who I am and should I be doing this, and all of that. And so thank you for being here. If you're new here, thank you also for being here. I appreciate it. I always say to those who are here with me listening, I always say that when you are here and you are in a space of being open to truth, you're in a space of being open to and receiving truth and receiving wisdom, and really tuning into yourself and listening, that work that you do to heal, to grow, to expand, to evolve, to transcend, that work is what is changing the world. Okay, that work is what is changing the world in real time. Okay, in real time, in this present moment, in real time, that work that you're doing is what is changing the world. Oftentimes, it can feel like, because we don't have that physical evidence, it can feel like, what am I even doing this work for? What am I even healing for? But I'm here to tell you that it is worth it, okay? That the reward is far greater than any tangible physical thing you could think or desire to acquire. Okay, so keep at it, stay strong, all right? If you need support in it, I'm here. I am here. If you just need someone to listen, to guide, to help, to listen, to just support you, I'm here. That's why I'm here. So, moving on into the conversation that I am here to share with you. As I was saying, it is a continuation of a conversation from the video before this one. The little thumbnail says settle into a new state, but the title of the video says let yourself dwell there within. Okay, let yourself dwell there within. And the conversation was about abundance and allowing yourself to dwell in a state of abundance, right? Kind of backing up and taking on a new perspective about what abundance is, right? So in that video, I talked about how abundance is not something that it's not a thing to be acquired. It's not a thing to to achieve or accomplish. It's not a thing to attain. Okay. It's a state of being. And there's invitation, and you'll hear when you watch the video, but there's this invitation for you to take up residency in a new state. Okay. So the conversation today is about letting go or surrendering, I'll say. Yeah. So the conversation today is about surrendering the state of desperation. Okay, surrendering the state of desperation. And I'm going to share a dream that came through, which is why I knew that this conversation was supposed to continue on. Okay, I'm going to share a dream, and I'm going to put the dream within a story. Okay, so I'm going to make the dream into a story. But first, let's talk about surrendering the state of desperation. So when you are living in a state, when you are living or dwelling in a state of desperation, when you are desperate, you do things that don't necessarily make you feel good within yourself, right? You do things or you act in a way that is not in alignment with love. Okay, so we're looking at things like you could use manipulation, right? And I kind of touched on manipulation in the other video, but you could use things like manipulation in order to get what you think you lack, okay? Because you're desperate. Everyone has done it at some, whether it's you're desperate for love. So you manipulate people in a way to get them to stay so that you can feel loved, so that you are not alone in this life. Okay, whether it's needing money, you do things to manipulate someone or something or some in one way or another to make sure that you get the money that you believe that you lack or need, right? There are people who do things, who manipulate systems in order to get rich, right? We call that greed. So when you are living in a state of desperation, you become manipulative. You become someone, something that you're not. Okay? And surrendering the state of desperation means that you let go. Yeah. Ooh, okay. So surrendering the state of desperation means that you are letting go of this idea, of this thought, of this belief that says that you lack what you need. Because when we believe that we lack what it is that we need, that's when we become desperate. That's when we begin to manipulate. That's whenever we begin to act outside of ourselves, right? We begin to step outside of our character. Okay. And so surrendering a state of desperation means, if I'm to surrender this state of desperation, it means that I am no longer believing in my mind, heart, body. I'm no longer willing to hold on to the belief that says I lack what I need. Okay. So the story and the dream, there's two neighbors. Okay. There's two neighbors, and neighbor number one, it's a woman. She has chickens in her yard. Chickens lay eggs all over her yard. And then we have neighbor number two, and this neighbor has kids. And one of the kids is rambunctious. He's all over the place. He's friendly with the neighbors. He comes back and forth. But the neighbor with the chickens that lays the eggs, she has in her mind, in her state of desperation, she has Okay, so I'm going to continue on, but I'm seeing the bookmarks, okay? But the neighbor number one, she has the chickens. Her chickens lay eggs all the time, okay? And she's constantly going out to gather the eggs, right? She's constantly going out to gather the eggs. And in her mind, she has placed value on the eggs. So in her mind, the eggs are equate to money in a sense, right? Because if she can gather up these eggs, she can sell them and she can make money, right? And what happened one day is the little boy, he comes into the neighbor's yard and he sees eggs, and he's a little boy. So he starts picking up the eggs and he's just throwing them down, breaking the eggs. Okay. That would frustrate anybody. And the frustration is valid, right? Because this little boy is coming into her yard. He's picking up the eggs that her chickens has laid, and he's slamming them down on the ground. So she gets angry. Why does she get angry? She gets angry because she's equating, she sees the eggs as money. So if he's breaking those eggs, he is taking away her ability to make money. Okay. And so in her desperation to make sure that she receives money for these eggs that he has broken, she goes to the neighbor, to the parents of the little boy, and she demands that they pay for the eggs. In the dream, the mother, no problem, no issue, wrote a check. Okay, no problem, no issue. Wrote a check for the eggs. It was all said and done. I woke up at that point, and that's when I started journaling and writing and was like, ah. So there's nothing wrong, okay? There's nothing wrong with the neighbor going to the parents and having a discussion with them about the little boy and what he has done. There's not even anything wrong with her being compensated for the eggs. Not at all. Nothing wrong with it. But here's where the state of desperation comes into play. Okay, the state of desperation comes into play because the neighbor placed so much value on the eggs, because the neighbor placed so much value on the eggs and was seeing the eggs as money. Okay, and had in her mind told herself, now that these eggs are broken, I won't be able to make money. So I have to go and I have to demand that these eggs are paid for. Okay. So in the dream, it looked like he broke about maybe 6 eggs. Not a whole lot, right? It just, in the dream I can see, because he's in her yard and he's picking up the eggs along her yard on the way back to his home. So it wasn't a whole lot of eggs. We'll say like maybe 6 eggs. That's what I'm seeing in the dream. And so the issue comes in the state of desperation, desperate for money, desperate for whatever it is. The state of desperation comes into play because the neighbor was so upset about the 6 eggs that the little boy broke. She forgot, or she not necessarily forgot, but she took her eyes off of what was still present for her, which was multiple chickens that can lay multiple eggs in one day. So it wouldn't have been difficult for her to get those 6 eggs back. But in her desperation, she placed a lot of value in those eggs. Okay, so here, and I'm processing this as it's coming through, because here's what I'm hearing is the lesson. We become desperate when we place so much value on the things that we believe we lack. Okay, that is why we end up in a state of desperation, because we see something that we believe that we lack and we place so much value on it. So we step outside of ourselves and we begin to act in a way that isn't rooted or grounded in love. In the neighbor's case, her anger, something that I wrote in my journal as I was processing it this morning was that the neighbor, so many different things could have unfolded, right? There could have been some lessons for the little boy. She could have taken the little boy under her wing and invited the little boy to help her gather up eggs in her yard as like a job, and she could have paid him or, just spend time with him. Anything could have happened, but she missed. And here's the thing, when we are in a state of desperation, we miss out on the synchronicities. We miss out on the lessons because we are in a state of desperation and our focus is on what it is that we think we lacked. So in the neighbor's case, because he was breaking those eggs, in her mind, she believed that, well, this is going to take away my opportunity to make money. And she missed out on an opportunity to extend grace, okay, because she had to have that money. She had to make sure that she demanded payment for those 6 eggs that the little boy broke. So surrendering this state of desperation, we willingly surrender that state whenever we realize that I lack nothing. I lack nothing. And not having this thing that I once believed that I lacked is not going to affect me in the way that I think it's going to affect me. Because oftentimes whenever we think, whenever we believe that we lack something, it is a life or death. It is a life or death thing. A lot of times, if I don't have that, it's life or death. And Spirit just wants us to hear that it's not life or death. Spirit wants us to hear that it is not that serious. It is not that serious, right? And I am not speaking to people who are in situations that are just dire, okay? But even in those situations, the call is to keep the faith. Don't allow your desperation to move you to act in a way that you wouldn't normally act in. Okay? Don't allow your desperation to cause you to let go of love temporarily, because a lot of times that's what happens when we're moving, acting from a space of desperation, we forget about love and grace. We forget, we neglect our faith. So, in order to settle into this new state of abundance, in order to settle into the state of abundance, in order to realize, remember that abundance is a state of being. It's not so much something that you attain, it's a state of being. And in the other video, I did say there will be, when you settle into this state of being in mind, body, and spirit, there will be tangible evidence. There will be tangible evidence. Our job is to be still and know that the universe, that God is conspiring on our behalf. Our job, our responsibility is to trust, to believe in and trust the process, because things are unfolding on our behalf, because things are lining up for us. And if we can place ourselves in the state of abundance, if we can dwell there within, in our minds, in our spirits, in our hearts, then we can listen, we can be more open, we can be more receptive to the guidance of our soul. Our soul wants us to live life and to live it more abundantly. That's what God wants for us. God wants for us to live life and to live it more abundantly. But we have to learn first how to let go of the old tactics that we were once using to acquire what we perceive to be an abundant life. We have to redefine what an abundant life actually is. And once we redefine what an abundant life is, then we dwell there within, and the external world begins to reflect what is this change that has occurred within. So the neighbor didn't necessarily have to demand. There were other ways to see that the child understood that what he did wasn't really okay. And so let me teach him a lesson. And also, the lesson is to not place so much value on things that are temporary. Those eggs were so easily replaceable. And yet she placed so much value on them that it made her so angry that he was wrecking them. And in her anger, she became desperate. In her anger, she became desperate. She was desperate for the money that she would have gotten. So that is that on that. Okay, let me know if you have any thoughts or questions in the comments. Let me know. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Again, if you haven't seen the first video, Let Yourself Dwell There Within, then I want to encourage you to go back and watch that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I am allowing myself to just be more available to what God wants to pour through me, okay? And so I thank you again. I just thank you for being here. I'm so present, or so grateful to you for being present. And again, just wanted to remind you that when you make yourself available to receive, when you make yourself available to the work that wants to be done through you, through to the healing that wants to be done through you. You are participating in the expansion of our world, okay? And you're participating and seeing that consciousness is expanding. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. Goodbye.